Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my sister financially? Let me give you the relevant background. Me, 32, female, and my twin sister have a great uncle. He and his husband are child-free, and we are the only kids in the whole family. When we were in high school freshmen, he sat us down and told us that he would like to leave his practice, orthodontics, to us if we want to. I agreed and worked hard for it. My sister, on the other hand, always wanted to be a homemaker. Nothing wrong with that. When we were accepted to college, he paid for mine and gave an equal amount to her that she used on a big wedding and a grand honeymoon. Her husband has a great job, but they have always been deep in debt because they like to keep up with the Joneses. New car each year, grand vacations, kids in private school, and a ton of extracurriculars. 2 years ago, I finally was able to join my uncle's practice. So it transferred everything to my name and left his huge paid-off house in a gated community to my sister. Then he and his husband moved to Florida to live the life. It was just bad luck that a few months later COVID hit and the practice started suffering. And that's when my sister started on gloating about how she was the smarter twin in the end, how she ended up with a paid-for house and a great family, while I was an old maid with a worthless practice. I ignored her remarks the same as I have been doing for years. Then restrictions eased and I started making money again. I just bought a condo and a Tesla. 2 days ago, she visited me. Then she asked me for $20,000. Apparently, they took a mortgage on their house because her husband lost his job, and now they're behind on their house payments, car payments, and the kids' tuition. How sympathetic. Offered to help her budget. Said that if they gave back their cars, I could pay the difference and get them a used one. Also, that I would get them current on essential bills and get them food, but that was that. She got angry. Said that I was a bad sister and that I was lording the fact that I was a successful doctor over her, that I wanted to see her brought low. I couldn't accept the disrespect in my own house, so I asked her to leave and to only contact me when she was ready to apologize and act rational about her situation. She called me a witch and left. Then she blocked me from everywhere and went whining to our parents. I still think that I'm in the right, but I don't want to see my nephews and niece become homeless. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You offered to help her get back on her feet. She didn't like the solution. The sister can't be in that dire of straits if she's keeping the kids in their fancy school and not getting rid of their flashy cars. My gut tells me if Opie gives sister the $20,000, it'll go to another car, or to a super fancy vacation or something. You handled that exactly the way I would have suggested. I think it was even too nice of you to offer to help her get back on her feet after how she has treated you during COVID. Not stay home. You offered a substantial amount of help already. It's not your fault she wouldn't take it and refuses to compromise on any of her luxuries to survive. Plus, the gloating she did over you for years, and now wanting $20,000 without even putting in any effort, makes her sound like an entitled brat. So I say don't give her a dime at this point. You offered to help, just not fund their extravagant lifestyle. Now she wants to get mad at call you names? Nope. They can sell the paid-off house and move somewhere cheaper. No, you don't want to see her brought low. She did that to herself, with all the debts and keeping up with the Joneses nonsense. They can't sell the house. They took a mortgage on it, so it is no longer paid off. Yes, but surely it's not on the full value of the house. They can sell and pay off the mortgage and use anything that's left to help fund a smaller house. She's clearly not that smart if she has allowed herself to get into this situation. I wouldn't even dare suggest it. She would frame it as me wanting her to lose her side of the deal. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she needs to start being grateful for her healthy baby? My female 21 sister 25 just had her first baby a few months ago. He, James, was born completely healthy, got to go home the same day. She had a very easy pregnancy and delivery, said so herself, but for some reason is always freaking out thinking there's something wrong with her baby. About a week after James was born, my sister got a call from his pediatrician saying they needed to redo one of his newborn screenings because he was too close to the borderline. My sister started freaking out, crying, acting like this meant he was going to die even though he hadn't been diagnosed with anything, or even failed a test. They just needed to redo it to be safe. He passed the second time. Her next freak out came when he was about 7 weeks old. She started saying he hadn't smiled yet, and everyone she knew who had babies started smiling at 6 weeks and saying maybe this is an early sign he has autism. My parents kept saying it's completely normal for a baby to not smile right on time, and her pediatrician even said they weren't concerned, but she was extremely upset and stressed by this. I asked her if she would love him any less if he had autism because that's how she was acting, and she looked disgusted and said, "Of course not. She just wants him to be okay." He smiled a few days after this freak out. The most recent freak out was his first roll. He rolled for the first time at 12 weeks, and that seems like something parents would be excited about. But nope, she was worried he rolled too early, and this could be a sign of cerebral palsy. I've read that early rolling can be an early sign, but 12 weeks is not considered early rolling. I was finally fed up with us and told her she's so lucky to have such a healthy baby, and some people would do anything to be as lucky as her, and she needs to stop freaking out and be grateful. I told her it is starting to look like she wants there to be something wrong with him. She just said something like, "Okay, sorry, I won't talk about my health concerns anymore. It has been very distant since." I recently found out she made a new family group chat without me in it where she sends pictures and updates on him, and it's making me wonder if I went too far and hurt her feelings. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. She's a new mother and it's showing. You, on the other hand, clearly have a problem if you can't tell why your words would hurt her. You were mean and nasty. I bet if the OP decides to have a child, she will be just as anxious. I imagine most new parents are like that, discussing worries with their family. Can confirm. I remember crying because my daughter had a hangnail the day I had to go back to work. She is understandably stressed about health scares, and most of these are legit health scares. The reasonable things to address overreaction would be to suggest that she seems really anxious, and maybe she should talk further with her pediatrician about when to be concerned or speak with a counselor. Not just tell her to be grateful when she's trying to sort out legit concerns from doctors providing required standard of care. Most of these are legit health scares. Smiling a little later and rolling a little earlier than your friend's babies are not legit health scares. This is way beyond normal new parent anxiety in my view. I don't think sister is an a-hole, but she needs to get some help to manage this. Of course your sister is overreacting a little, but she's a first-time parent and is understandably anxious about making sure her child is healthy. And some of the things you mentioned are actually pretty big deals. I would be freaking out if I had to redo a screening like that. Your comment was just cold and unnecessary. And removing you from the loop about baby stuff is logical. You've made it clear you don't care about the details of what's happening with the baby, so why would she continue to copy you on her updates to the rest of the family? Little update. My sister has always been anxious. Has been in therapy since she was 14 and still is. Has also been on various meds. I guess I'm mostly just frustrated because she seems to have an ideal life and doesn't seem appreciative. She has an extremely supportive husband. They own a house. She gets to be a stay-at-home mom. Got pregnant her first try. But now after reading some of these replies, I realize I didn't really think about her hormones. And she's probably just wanting reassurance and someone to tell her everything be okay. I will apologize, but I'm gonna give it a bit so she can cool off. Next story. Am I the a-hole for reminding my half-sister of my existence? As context for this tale, you need to know that I come from a mid-sized town in the Bible Belt, and, well, things here work a little bit different. Like 1950s different. I, 17 female, am the bastard daughter of one of the town's big daddies, conceived in an affair he had with mom, while his wife was pregnant. This was scandalous when it became public, but southern men are prideful, and while daddy has never been too involved in my life, he gave me his last name and occasionally visits to see that I'm not becoming a lesbo-punk. His bounteous checks have kept me and my mom afloat all these years, so thank you, Papa. Who I have a problem with is my half-sister, remember pregnant wife, Miley May, 17 female. She hates me. She always has. But the moment she found out who I was, she hated me, and she has tried to bully me all our lives. I honestly don't care too much, but I can see where she's coming from, as rumor has it that the marriage between her mom and our dad never recovered after the affair, and she came into the world to a broken home. Right now, we try to keep our distances, and our school has been gentle enough to maintain us apart in every aspect they can. Now here comes the fun part. We are both graduating next year, and as part of last year's traditions, all the graduates have to create a family tree that hangs out in the legacies corridor. I mean, basically all of us are descendants of previous students up to 5 generations, if not more, and the point is showing the compromise with excellence our families have, or something like that. In my tree, I obviously included Dad's side. I even added Miley May and her mom because they were also part of it all. When Miley May saw it, she went full ballistic. She shouted. She cried and she tore my poster apart in front of her classmates. I was not there when this happened. Because of this, we were both called to the principal's office with our families. Miley made her mom blame me for her episode because I incited her with my slanderous tree. The principal just sat there, dumbfounded, and while he left Miley May without punishment this time, he said that I can put whoever I want in my tree, and that Miley May will be suspended if she destroys the new one I create. I know you will be wondering, OP, why in hell you think you are the a-hole in this situation? As we were leaving, my father came to me and asked me to not put him on my tree. He was not angry or mad. He just looked sad. I barely know this man, but I don't think I have ever seen a biggest expression of defeat and remorse in my whole life. He just said life is difficult enough as it is, and that I should not make it harder for him or Miley May, especially since I know how she is. Then he left. My intention was never to hurt my father or even Miley May, but now I feel like a total crap. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Your life story? Your damn family tree. Do they want you to claim the Virgin Mary as your mother and God as your father? Edit. There are many snarky ways to not technically include them, but paint a picture clearly enough since it sounds like who is related to who is well known enough around town, if you are so inclined. Like putting a picture of Voldemort and writing, "He who shall not be named" for your father, and Hannah Montana for your half-sister. If your father did not want to be featured in a family tree other than the one for his legitimate children, he shouldn't have slept with someone he wasn't married to. Full stop. And he should have shut this thing with Miley May down when it started happening, not let her get to the point where she's destroying your property in public. You bear no blame for the situation. This. 100% this. This is your story, OP. Your storied Miley May stories intertwined because of your dad's choices, but you were meant to be here for a reason, as was she. I can't imagine it has been easy going to school with her though now, but it doesn't sound like it was you who created the drama. Sounds like it was her fueled by her mom. Your dad is the major a-hole for not shutting this behavior down in 1st/2nd grade. But Miley May should be past this enough at this point, that it shouldn't be emotional enough of an issue to have that kind of a tantrum. I'm sure it is well known in your school and community that you share a dad. I'd recreate the tree exactly as it was before. Walk into class with dignity and hand it in, and then wink at her. That's it. Just a wink. He just said life is difficult enough as it is and that I should not make it harder for him or Miley May, especially since I know how she is. Screw him. He put himself even before the child he hurt by raising her in a household with fractured trust, and the child he hurt by withholding his presence. Not the a-hole. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to call my mother's husband Dad? For background, my 38th female mother has been a single parent most of my life. She married her husband when I was 23, and they had been dating since I was 19. I've accepted him in my life, but I've been very clear about the fact that I don't see him as my dad. I have a dad. He's a deadbeat that I don't have contact with, and, along with my mother, is the reason I've been in therapy. So, my mother's husband, let's call him David, is a massive part of my kids' lives. He's their granddad, there's no question about it. They both know David isn't my dad. They've seen my boy dad and have both said they aren't interested in him. They're old enough to decide. Over the years, my mother has been referring to David as my dad, saying your dad is on the phone, and it's made me cringe. I told her I didn't like it. She said David does, but that she would stop. She doesn't. We were at an event last week where I was asked to stand with my dad by someone. I said, "Oh, that's not my dad," and the person apologized. It passed. The event carried on. Everyone had a great time. I went to visit my mother a few days ago, and she said, "You know, you really hurt David's feelings the other day." I asked how, and she said the nasty, aggressive way you said, "He's not my dad." I said it hadn't been any type of way. I just told them he's not my dad. She said I can't believe her back here, saying he isn't your dad when he's done so much for you. I lost it. I told her that wanting to be my dad doesn't make him so. I'm the only person in the family whose dad hasn't been a part of their lives. They don't know what it's like growing up knowing you're not wanted, and just when you've come to peace with it, had someone literally force themselves on you. David has his own child who is also an adult, but my mother has never been expected to play the role of mother for them. Now neither of them is talking to me because I can't just let David be my dad. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, especially as your mother doesn't expect the same from David's kids. That's a bit hypocritical of them. That really depends on if David's ex is an actual mother. I hope you should make it clear to them the title of dad isn't a compliment in your case. You're not my dad. You're my David. That's much better. He did raise you. You were an adult when you met him and you have a dad, and he needs to accept that. Why would you need to call him dad? A word that has a different significance to you. To show you care about him, your kid's acceptance of him should be clear that he's loved by you surely. Yeah, it's very weird to insist your adult child call your husband, who you married after the child was an adult, dad. Opie will never view him as anything but another adult, an equal. It's almost as if they don't respect Opie as an adult. My dad remarried someone a year older than me. I was in my late 20s when they first met. If that was ever suggested or proposed to me, I would have laughed in their face, and they know it. Especially considering I have an older brother and I'm not on speaking terms with my mother. Not day-hole. It is one thing when you are a child and your mother's boyfriend takes a custodial role, is there making you dinner and listening to your problems. It is another thing altogether when you are an adult, and your mother thinks just because she is in a relationship, that you have to be in that relationship too. You know what? He isn't your dad. You have set a boundary and your mother is stomping it. David is stomping it. It might be time to start setting consequences because boundaries without consequences is just wishful thinking. So next time she starts with a dad crap, just pick up your things and leave. If on the phone, the next thing she hears is click. Is it rude to enforce your boundaries when someone is insistent on stomping on them and then getting all the butthurt about it? I think not.
Update. Am I the a-hole for wanting to ask my future mother-in-law to move out of our house? Original post. I, 29 female, and my fiancé, 29 male, have lived in a 3-bedroom house for 3 years now. We used to rent, but when we got pregnant, we decided we were in our best financial state to get a mortgage. My parents and his parents gave us some cash to help with the down payment of our house, and we bought a house. Anyway, my fiancé renovated the house, and it is now in excellent condition. After a year, my future mother-in-law and father-in-law decided to move in with us for a year, as my father-in-law would like to travel 6 months a year overseas to visit his mom and deal with some stuff. When they moved in, they completely took over my kitchen, changed my plates and put away my appliances to use theirs, used their dining table, used the living room without considering other people. By this I mean changing the show if I paused it to go pee, and overall just using it as if they owned the house, not even considering that we have a 1-year-old living in the house. I've talked to them about it, but they just brush me off or say yeah, but then still use their stuff or do whatever they want again. A year from when they moved in has passed, and they haven't moved out yet. My father-in-law has been traveling back and forth, and my mother-in-law is being like a queen, where I have to look after her dishes, hang her laundry, clean her bathroom, etc. There are also some small habits that are driving me insane. She also tries to subtly be bit to me, and I've been keeping it all in. A few months ago, my sister visited us for an event and told us that my mother-in-law was saying that they should be able to live here as they lent us cash and also to help us with a child. She's tried to pay rent, but it's never consistent as she's not very good with finances. She will prioritize a trip with her friends instead of paying to go to the doctor. This drove me nuts because this was not true. They sporadically helped us with taking care of the child, but we also didn't know that the cash was only a loan, as they didn't tell us that. So my fiancé and I decided that we were going to pay it all off, and we finally did. My fiancé has been very supportive of me, but also feels bad for his parents, as he is an only child. I am pregnant a second time now, and we would like to use the 3rd room for my baby boy, my in-laws' room. The rooms are small, so we definitely cannot fit 2 single beds in one room. My first child is a girl, and she already sleeps by herself. We decided that having another baby sleep in her room will disrupt her sleep pattern, especially because the room is small and could not fit another bed, only a small cot. We've tried to talk to my in-laws, but they are only saying they'll move soon, maybe in 3 months, or maybe next year. My fiancé has also been asking them a lot, but he doesn't get clear answers. So I want to intervene, as they rarely tell me any of their decisions, even when I'm physically in front of them. I've asked advice from my parents, and they're saying I should try to be more lenient, as it might cause some drama if I give them a final date to move out. So I'm wondering, would I be the a-hole if I give them 3 months to move out? 3 months after my baby is born. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. It's not your job. It's your husband's job. He should be the one to tell them to move out and to give them a definite date before the baby is born. They said a year. It's been a year. You've paid back the money. That's it. Done and dusted. Goodbye. I've been keeping it all in. Or you could just not do that. Let them know how you feel in the moment. You're going to be painted as the bad guy anyway, so lean into it. Thank you. I am learning to speak up for myself, and I'm hoping they get it, as they usually just pretend to hear me and not take any action. I think you're being reasonable. Personally, I can see this is a difficult situation for your husband as well, but you shouldn't be playing the role of Cinderella in your own home. It's your house, your rules, and your husband should back you up on that as well. They can keep their items in their own room. Regardless, I think it's good to see when they moved in, and if it's been more than a year, offer a few more months stay, like 2 to 3, then put a hard line. They sound entitled, so I hope they don't force an eviction process, but it will become a lot more difficult if you and your husband aren't on the same team. You don't deserve to be treated badly in your home, and the way mother-in-law treats you is unfair. She probably feels some type of way whenever she looks down on you, and that isn't okay for her to get off on bossing you. Start taking steps to protect yourself however you feel fit, getting on the same page with your husband, finding better accommodations, or getting the eviction ready if possible, or at least start preparing backup plans in case. Thank you. I will take note of this and start making backup plans. Do your in-laws feel entitled because your husband is their only child? Did any of your in-laws' parents live with them when your husband was a child? If so, you may have a generational problem. They lived with the grandparents, father-in-law's parents, for 10 years, and they compromised because it wasn't their house. Now for the first update. Taking into account the comments, I sat with my fiancé and told him I can't take it anymore. If they, his parents, don't move out in the next 2 weeks, I will pack up my stuff and my children, and I will live with my parents, and I expect to be paid half of the value of the house. I love my fiancé, but I love myself and my kids more, and living in this situation is not good for anyone. He finally put his foot down and told his parents and gave them options on all rental places available. They have started going to inspections, but have no good things to say, so I don't know if they're serious or not. My mother-in-law has started being nice to me, but I know it's just an act. I have slowly packed all their stuff and bought things for the house, so all their furniture and appliances are now in the garage. To be sure they took this seriously, I've also packed some of my stuff and my child and unborn child stuff for when I move out, in case they don't. I can see my fiancé panicking, and I'm sad I've put him in this position, but we both know and agree this is all for the best. So thanks Reddit, and we'll see in 2 weeks. Oh, and I have stopped all chores I do for them. Now I only do chores for myself, my kid, and my fiancé, and I've asked my fiancé not to pick up their slack either. Go see a lawyer. Gather mortgage and title papers and bank statements to show you've paid on the home. If you have paperwork from your parents gifting you money, put it all in a safe place. Have the lawyer draft up a document stating equal interest in the home, and if in-laws are not out, then you are owed X amount payable in, say, 30 days. You need to protect yourself and your children. I have compiled all paperwork as a safety net. If you're in the US, your mortgage paperwork likely includes a signed letter from your in-laws stating the money they gave you was not a loan. Look for that in case they try to claim you personally owe them. I hope you've stopped cleaning and doing laundry for them. I have. One time she said the trash was full in her bathroom, and I just looked at her and said, "Not my problem." She went to empty it herself. Good Lord, is she entitled. You have a small child, another on the way, and she expects you to take care of her while she treats you like crap? Even when they do move out, you and your fiancé need to get counseling together to make sure nothing like this happens again. Now for the final update. Hi all, it's been a crazy past 2 weeks, and I've finally had a time to write this as I can't sleep and think I'm about to be in labor. Sorry this is gonna be long. I feel like I'm writing in my diary. I have a few updates. First, I spoke to my fiancé's relative, who he treats as a sibling, and the relative basically told me what most Reddit comments have told me. They mentioned that my fiancé is blind to his parents' flaws because he only had his parents when they moved countries and relied on and obeyed them fully when he was younger. But we can now see he has woken up and realized this is not normal behavior. Second, we went to couples therapy last week and are planning to continue. Both of us need to communicate more, and my fiancé broke down as he was really oblivious to his parents using him as an investment, but has now seen their ways. I also want to defend him, as I didn't give him enough credit in my previous posts. He definitely helps me, comforts me, and has gone above and beyond to support me. Lastly, on my fiancé's relatives' point of view, my mother-in-law told them that they were the ones who offered to move out, but we didn't want them to move so they can help take care of the kids. The relative knew this was BS and told her, "Oh, I thought your son needed you out because they need all their rooms now," and mother-in-law was seemingly shocked and just said, "Oh, they will need my help." But now they have moved out. It was rough. The in-laws were not making it easy. They would go to open houses late, which I think was on purpose to miss them, and my fiancé took time off of his 2 jobs to make sure they went to check and inspect rentals and sign on the rentals. He said there was no stopping until they found one, basically leaving them no choice. So, thank God, they are officially out. And I've changed the locks. We're setting up the nursery, and I can finally breathe. My fiancé and I are planning on selling this house and buying another one in a year so that we can start fresh after I give birth and after our wedding, without the bad memories of my in-laws in our house. Thanks Reddit for being my older sister and brother when my siblings told me to suck it up as they really don't know how I feel. I can't believe the only one who told me to stand up to my in-laws, aside from you guys, was my fiancé's relative. Maybe because they're the only one who truly knew them. I think my son is now ready to come out. Congrats. Glad hubby is growing a spine. Keep it shiny. Do not ever let the in-laws show up with suitcases or any kind of just for a few days type of visit. Don't ask them to house sit or pet sit, as I will wager they will just get nested and refuse to leave again. I don't know why, but I have that feeling they're gonna try to do this. If they do, Reddit will definitely know. Be smart. Get cameras and up your security all around the property so you know when visitors or unwanted families show up. And go with an electronic door lock that uses individual codes. The best way is to get one that allows you to give someone temporary access that expires at a time you set. Don't give keys to the in-laws, and honestly, don't even let them stay the night. You may come home one day and they'll have just set up like they're staying. The camera and door lock will give you the warning you need, so you can call them and tell them to leave. Or call the cops if need be. Learn the law too. Know exactly what it takes to be considered a resident of your home in your area. In some places, staying as little as 7 days gives them rights. Oh, and don't forget the no trespassing sign. And if you feel you want a little distance from his family, or anyone for that matter, remember, if you move, you're not actually obligated to give anyone your new address. We have the Ring doorbell, and we're planning to add one in front of our garage and one on our side gate because it doesn't show on the Ring doorbell. So happy to hear they are gone and marriage counseling is going well. Good luck with the baby. My fiancé has been stepping it up as he should. I'll show him this post after I give birth. Last story. Am I the a-hole for calling the police on my husband and refusing to let him back in the house? Original post. I, 38 female, and my husband, 40 male, have been together 12 years, married for 7. Over the past few years, he has gotten more and more lazy with helping with things around the house. Today my parents were coming by to visit, and I figured we could cut our grass while they were here, and they could watch our kids. We have twin toddler girls. He slept on and off most of the day, not unusual on the weekends. He does anything to get out of helping with our kids. I discussed this with them before they came over. They got there late afternoon, and it was hot outside. We live in the South, and the heat can be exhausting. If you know, you know. I was willing to help get it done, so neither of us was out in the heat for very long. After my parents arrived, he disappeared and I found him asleep. I woke him and told him I was going to start cutting the yard. He got mad and said that I was making him look bad, and like he isn't capable of doing the yard by himself. We argued, and ultimately he said he didn't need my help and cut the yard. The entire time, he came in and out of the house making rude comments and just being rude to me and my family. After they left, he continued to get more aggressive and angry. He threw pillows, toys, and books at me, called me names, and brought up old arguments, all in front of the kids. I asked him multiple times to leave and he refused, so I just started to ignore him. After more arguing, he got in my face and shook the chair I was in, and when that didn't work, he threw a pillow at my head. I finally snapped and told him he either leaves or I call the police. He refused to leave. I called the police, and when they were on the way, he decided to leave. They came and spoke with me, but ultimately left because he didn't hurt me and he left on his own. He continued to call and text horrible things until he realized I wasn't answering. Now that he has calmed down, he is messaging me, telling me he doesn't feel good, he is dizzy and sick to his stomach, and just needs somewhere in the air conditioning to lay down. He promised to stay in the living room and not bother me or the kids. I told him no, that I didn't feel comfortable with him here. Now he is calling me the a-hole for letting him suffer when he doesn't feel good. He says because I am a nurse I should be more caring. Even after everything, and as mad as I am at him, I still feel bad because I don't want to abandon him into this heat in the middle of summer. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments before the mini update. Not the a-hole. Your husband wasn't just being lazy. He escalated to verbal abuse and throwing things at you in front of your kids. That crosses a line. You did the right thing by calling the police. Your safety and your children's safety come first. Thank you. He is testing your boundaries. Next time, it won't be pillows that are thrown. And the time after that, it's probably not just you gets things thrown at them. Screw him and don't let him in. That is my fear. That one day it might be something else, or he may hit one of our kids on accident. Not the a-hole. He needs to, 1, go to the doctor and get a full checkup to see if he has a medical condition causing him to be so sleepy and lazy. 2, he needs therapy to learn how his behavior was terrible, how he is teaching his daughters this is okay, and that it is okay if their future partners treat them the same way. 3, I'm not sure I would let him back in either. He can go to a friend's, a hotel, his car, or his family. I do think he needs to see a doctor and a therapist. I hope I can get him to do both. Thank you for the suggestion. Mini update. I did not let him back in. I locked the garage door so the remotes wouldn't work and made sure all doors and windows were locked. I woke up this morning to 2 flat tires. He must have done that before he left. Then while I was trying to air them up with our air compressor, he parked behind me and a family member who helps take my children to daycare so he couldn't leave to go to work or daycare. He finally moved after I threatened to call the police again. He has been messaging me all day, calling me all kinds of names and threatening to come to my job and have me fired and or deflate my tires again. He also threatened to plant drugs in my car and have me arrested, and to call the police on me and say I hit him so I would go to jail for DV. Needless to say, I am going to see a lawyer this week and figure out my options. The police said they can't make him leave his own home, so it looks like I either have to leave and find somewhere to go short term, or live there with him until I can move.